Are you ready for the coming of Galactus? Oh, whoops, not that one. Sorry. The coming of Galactus.
I am, but I have a little problem. I tried to read my comics, but
This is Read Your Comics. How are you supposed to do that in those plastic sarcophaguses?
I know. All right. Well, what if I read it in Japanese?
Can you even read Japanese?
I can't read Japanese. Well, all I have is this one comic. You know what? Give me 1 sec, all right? Oh, all right. I got to get my child here because my child can help me read this, but just give me 1 sec. All right. Well, look, I'm ready for the coming of Galactus. You ready to read it in big format?
I mean, we can try. I don't think it's going to work.
What do you do when Silver Surfer's coming? Got to call Galactus, got to call Galactus. Read your comics!
Welcome back to Read Your Comics. My name is Daryl, and today I'm looking at the coming of Galactus with my good friend Dave of West Coast Davengers.
Hi, Daryl. Thanks for having me for this awesome read through of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's greatest story.
It's the epic trilogy. Before the Star Wars was being called the trilogy, right?
That's right.
This was the trilogy.
The
So-
coming of Galactus.
So as you can see, Dave, I too have an assortment of variations of this story because I have a problem. And it is hoarding different versions of this story. In the past, I've had the originals. I've also had the omnibuses in the past that collected it as well. And rest assured, when it does come out in a Taschen oversized book, I will have that as well.
We already have copies of the what is this? The Marvel version of it. So yes, I think it is fun to collect different versions or variations of the thing that you love, especially because you're looking at three out of all that stuff. It's three different versions of it. There's the modern reprint. There's the Fireside reprint, and then there was the original Marvel's Greatest Comics reprint. I love seeing that stuff. And like you, if it's something related to the thing I love, I collect them all.
Yep. And it's just, you're like, how many times can I spend money on this same story over and over and over again? In its various formats.
No. But yes, thank you for having me. Excited to look at this.
Well, Dave, before we get started, let's let the people know where they can find you.
Well, you can find me at my house, but otherwise, I am Dave, and my YouTube channel is called the West Coast Avengers. I do a video every Sunday, a live sale every 2 weeks on Wednesday, aka West Coast Wednesday. And additional to that, I have a podcast called Direct Edition. It's where I do a lot of my interviews, and it's not just comics. There's music, movies, talk on there, TV, and life stuff. So Direct Edition, West Coast Avengers, come join the fun. I'll always be indebted to you for having me on your channel so many times, Daryl.
And I'll put his address right here on the screen so you can go to his house and see him.
Yeah.
As well as link it into the description here.
Yes, and when you do come to my house, you must offer me at least one Turok number 1.
That is the ultimate passage, right?
Yes.
And if it's a gold Turok, what do they get?
Dinner.
Well, Dave, the first time I read this story was actually in this Fireside reprint. I'm an 80s, 90s kid. Me and you were about age. I think there's like a year or so between us, but
yeah.
It's like you knew about Galactus, you knew about the Silver Surfer. Mostly we picked all that up from later stories, like probably around the Infinity Gauntlet, which we've done together, by the way. But so it's like you always kind of knew about this story, and I don't know at what point that this crossed my path that I was like, oh, this collects it. So I was able to read it then, and I've kind of had this around and then accumulated the other versions as the years have gone by. What was your first experience with this story? Not learning about the story, but with the story.
I don't know, because at some point I had this treasury somewhere in my 20s, and I don't know. I think it might have been verbally maybe some flashback stuff in another issue, but I definitely read it about 6 years ago digitally and sat down. I was on a flight and I read the whole thing and I loved every second of it. But parts of it were familiar to me, so I just can't remember when I read it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been like an issue here and there, or truncated versions dumped into the back of like anniversary issues and stuff, I would imagine.
I will say, as a kid, I think, like you said, you know, we read the Infinity Gauntlet. I was fascinated by Galactus. I was fascinated by the Surfer. You know, he grew up in the Ron Lim Surfer era, and it was just cool. And you get to love Kirby a little more, and you realize, like, yeah, everybody's done it great, but nobody's done it better than Kirby.
True. The Surfer, I would say close second. Well, probably even on par would be John Buscema.
Yeah,
I love the John Buscema Surfer. It's incredible. One of the great ways, though, if you want to read it kind of in an original format, is to track down these Marvel Greatest comics. They're not too expensive, and you get it on like the old style newsprint paper with you know, kind of older lettering or coloring, I should say, and they look great if you want it in that pseudo original format. These newer versions that are just coming out, this facsimile, but it is the glossy paper. It is the bright white coloring, or oversaturated coloring. That collage looks pretty good there, though. But yeah, so you know, these are coming out now. So if you want to pick those up, they're a good way to grab it. These True Believers came out a few years ago. And I don't know, there's probably various that giant book that we were holding up at the beginning that we both have. Yeah, is a cool way to view it. It's just kind of cumbersome.
Yes, and less cumbersome, and I think the best printing is the Treasury, which I will be looking at, which is the Marvel Treasury Fabulous Fantastic Four #2, and it's got the original colors printed on newsprint. It's just a 10 by 17 size or whatever, a 10 by 14 size.
Yep. You got to be careful with those treasuries, though, because they do take out a page or two here or there sometimes. Actually, this Marvel's Greatest Comics also will edit issues. They don't do it on these, but in later issues, I think it was more to do with Marvel cutting back page counts from 22 pages to 20 and then 17. So when they started doing these reprints, they had to take pages out. Sadly, a lot of times it was like the Sue page, like a page about Sue. That's the page they took out. So, you know, there's a lot of criticism, which we'll see in this story, about the way Stan Lee in particular wrote Sue in the time period. And then they made it worse by just completely editing her out of the book in the reprints.
And for me, they do on the Treasury, they cut out the beginning of issue 48 and the end of issue 50, but it's because those two pieces of it don't really focus on the story, but you'll get to that in a second.
I think I'll just go ahead and look at it just because it's easier to hold open in the Marvel's Greatest Comics, even though, like I said, this is the first way I read it. This is a cool book. It collects FF4 and then 48, 49, 50, and I can't remember the numbers, but it's like a later Doctor Doom story. 86. 85 and 86, I think, are in the back here. So this is a good book to catch too. If sometimes Dave will probably have that on his sales, I would imagine he runs across one every now and then.
Oh yeah, yep.
I do want to quickly talk though before we jump into the book. I just want to cover it all at one time as the covers, the original covers, which I'll plop up on screen right here. Of the three covers, they're all equally iconic, I would say. However, only one of them really defines the run, 49. Yeah.
I mean, it defines the run because it's got Surfer and it's got Galactus and it's got the Fantastic Four, but the colors and the composition really just it's unmatched. It's unmatched.
And even in this Fireside book, they only put one cover, and that is the cover that they chose.
Yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful.
So like even they know that like this is the main issue, right? The first issue though that has the Watcher on it, kind of staring off, like I don't love this cover really as like a thinking of it from like a kid's perspective that had never read Fantastic Four before, and this is the cover on the shelf. Would this grab your attention in the same way? I can't imagine it would.
maybe not, but the other thing is it does exactly what you want it to do. When you look at that cover, you say, "What's Galactus?" or "Who is Galactus?" And you got to read the whole book till you find out. And
Yeah.
oh boy, does it do its job that last splash page.
Oh, it does for sure. But I don't think the Watcher is like a visually like particularly appealing character. I mean, he's
Yeah.
like a bald guy in a toga, you know. So that's why I love this cover now. And when you read the book and you understand what is happening in the book, the cover does make a lot of sense.
Yes.
But if it's like just your first impression of like, I've never read the Fantastic Four, I don't know what Galactus is, I don't know that this particular cover jumps out at you. But then that 49 cover, bam, it lets you have it all.
Right. I will, if we want to just get a little heady for a second.
Okay.
You know, when you think about it in terms of the 60s and you know, a guy like Jack Kirby's doing, he puts him in a toga because it reminds you of, you know, ancient Greek philosophers or, you know, philosophers of the old that would be the mouth would be the soothsayer, maybe, you know, where they're predicting what's going to happen. And that's exactly what the imagery is to do. It's like you're thinking to yourself, oh, this guy knows what's going to happen. He's wearing a toga. He's probably really smart. You know, like I guarantee you, if we were to go back and ask Jack Kirby, he probably had those kind of ideas when he was designing that. You know, he created the character visually as it is.
And Galactus, I was thinking as I was reading it, and I never really put it together, is almost wearing like a Roman suit of armor. Really, not the helmet, but like his tunic is very like Roman-esque.
Yeah.
So when we get to it, seeing the splash page of the Watcher and Galactus standing together, they actually match really well.
They do. They do. And I think we just cracked the code, period. So I'm done.
Well, what do you think about these reprint covers?
They're weak. I mean,
This
the
was kind of a recreation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're asking me to compare who did the art on this, like Sal Buscema?
I think John Buscema did this one. I think he may have done this one too. This one looks almost like Gil Kane to me, though.
Yeah, they don't. I can't compare them. I can't. It's Kirby versus anybody else. You know who's winning.
But then at issue 50, brown cover with your biggest, you know, shot of the surfer on the cover. I think the brown is the only real downside to that cover for being issue number 50.
Yeah, I think 50, you can make the case for that, but I think then on the other hand, I'll say it stands out because of the brown.
Yeah,
you don't see it too often used especially in Marvel books like that.
No, Stan liked things to pop off, yellows, reds,
greens. Yeah. So I like the 50 cover.
I like it.
Especially kind of matches 49 48 a little bit too.
Yeah. I guess it's like when we get into later Galactus stories that Kirby was doing, that 50 can kind of still be kind of a weak. We're talking weak for Kirby though, right?
Yeah. You're balancing it against stuff like issue 72 and stuff like that. Sure, right. It's weak.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the first one that would be 48.
Yeah.
And it starts out like we were saying, it starts out with a different story. This is the conclusion, kind of really a midpoint conclusion of the Inhumans saga. We won't spend a lot of time discussing it. Basically, the Maximus the Mad had created this like weapon that is going to create like a dome over the Inhumans and keep them trapped in the Himalayas. And Johnny is separated from Crystal. They just had a budding romance. That's the gist of this whole first 7 pages.
Yeah. And I haven't read the Inhuman saga in a long time, but it's pretty amazing. He goes from introducing the Inhumans to introducing Silver Surfer Galactus right into introducing the Black Panther. This is literally the greatest run of comics in all of comics history.
Yeah, definitely. I often say when people want recommendations for FF, I'm like, start around like 35 or so when they introduce the Frightful Four, which introduces Medusa, and like kind of go up into the 70s. Like, you got about a 40 issue run there. That's some of the most explosive ideas ever put to the comic page in superhero comics.
Definitely. But yeah, they're in the negatives. They're coming out of the negative zone after this, right?
Well, they call it the negative zone. It's like they're calling this dome a negative zone.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's, I guess, I don't know if it's the same kind of energy that would be the negative zone that we would come
Right.
to know, but it basically creates this like dome over Adelon, and the FF just barely escape it in time, but it traps the Inhumans in it, and now Johnny's been separated, and that's kind of an ongoing plot for the next, like, I don't know, 12 or so issues before, we get back. The Inhumans keep popping up for like a page or two here and there, but like this is kind of like the end point of their first big arc. But it's kind of neat that it wraps that up and then jumps right into this white silvery character flying around through space on a large paddleboard here.
Yeah, he's I mean, he's not a lot of definition yet, but he would eventually be a little bit more defined. But I just absolutely love looking at whatever Kirby decides to draw outer space. It's a treat. It's a treat.
And the board, I was joking, I called it a paddle board because it is funny how he draws it like kind of like fat and rounded.
Yeah.
At this time, I mean, I know surfboards were like more like longboards back then.
Yeah, they were.
And I prefer that like long rounded off nose towards like, there have been artists that have tried to do it like a modern surfboard, and it doesn't work. But it's like it's the thickness in these issues that always kind of throws me off. It almost looks like he's on a little rocket, really, in a way.
I'd also like to point out, and then you just made me think of this. Does that mean aliens invented the surfboard? I mean, Norrin Radd was a human, but he wasn't a surfer. Yeah. Why? How did they invent surf?
That's a good question.
How did they know a surfboard exists if this is first to Earth?
I mean, I guess we're going to start debating on why do they know English?
That's true. That's true.
But it is a neat concept that, as the story goes, him and Stan and Jack, they were plotting out what they were going to do leading up to issue 50. And they kind of make it out like they came up with Galactus together. There was going to be a godlike creature coming, but Stan just showed up to the office with these pages, and Stan Lee's like, who's this guy? And so like the Silver Surfer, totally 100% Kirby, at least this initial image and how he's used in this issue.
I also like to point out his name gets said 1, 2, 3 times in 3 panels, maybe even four times in 3 panels, 4 times in 3 panels.
Yeah.
We get it, guys. We get it. We understand what his name is. I mean, he is literally named after the thing is what he looks like. I mean, this is and this is why when I read some of this stuff from this era, it's just so verbose, and like you can, as a reader, skip through a lot of the dialogue, and you can almost read it as narration, the narration boxes, and not miss a beat of the story.
Oh yeah, you definitely can. Yeah. And some of the narration and like with the surfer, I think is pretty neat because it does describe how he is like surfing on the waves, like in the gases of the universe and stuff. There's a panel later on that discusses it.
Very poetry-like.
Yeah,
as Alicia will point out.
But I will say, I think Jack's intention though for the Silver Surfer was pretty much just this issue initially, and he wanted him to be almost like a robot to herald Galactus, and Stan was so taken with it that I think Stan is the one that was like, no, he needs to come back in the next issue. Of course, Stan will take him off in his own series without Kirby and really add background to his character and stuff. But it's funny the difference in what the two guys kind of had envisioned for this character, but it obviously blew Stan away for Jack to just show up with this and be like, here's this random new character. If you look at,
you look at art back then in comics and you look at this and it was just like, you're taken aback, I'm sure, when Jack comes in with pages and you're just like, why is this so much more beautiful than anything else anybody was doing?
And it's really quite unique. I think one of the things I've read that Jack said too is he was tired of drawing like rocket ships and stuff. So he didn't want this herald to just show up in a spaceship. Like, so many other comics were doing. So he's like, I'm going to put him on a surfboard, just riding through space. That's what he rides through space in.
Yes, and obviously surfing becoming big at that time. Can I just point out one thing before we flip the page? Did the Fantastic Four steal a 747? Why is the Fantastic Four jet a 300 plus passenger person jet?
And where did they get it? Because last time we saw them, they were over in Adelon. Well, I guess it's parked right there.
Yeah, it was
Looks like
parked. I
somebody
mean,
picked them up.
also, yeah, how did they have the gas to get the fuel to get? Anyway, it's just one of these things that I look at. I'm like, you guys really weren't checking the plot, were you?
I don't remember the issue before. It's been a long time since I've read 47, so I don't really remember why that particular plane is there. If it was even the plane they took
Yeah.
in the last issue. That is something, as much as I love and will praise Kirby all day long, I think he was doing so much that sometimes when you're reading these issues back to back, there's like those inconsistencies that happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's just, I mean, he's just cranking it out so fast. They're on a deadline. He didn't have time to sit there and like really go back and be like, let me make sure I get the exact, like the hand that he was holding his coffee cup in, turn the right direction from the last issue, you know.
And all due respect to Joe Sinnott is an amazing legendary anchor. He probably wasn't crossing his T's and dotting his I's. I would just like to say, and I know this is going to cause a stir, if Mike Royer would have inked these issues, could you imagine how much more beautiful they would be?
The space stuff would definitely have a lot more. A lot more details going on. But you know, Joe Sinnott and Jack Kirby, I mean, this is like their partnership for two men that met like what, one time or something in person. Yeah. Like it's pretty incredible for their run. And then of course it kind of becomes Joe Sinnott's book. I think it was
after Romita was on it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it took over. It really didn't matter what penciler was on it. Joe Sinnott was doing all the inking on it to just kind of kept that look. I've actually seen an interview with Bill Sienkiewicz. He did an issue or two, I think, and he even said like they wanted him to continue doing the book, and he was like, I mean, it was really Joe Sinnott's book, and there was nothing you could really do to like, you know, you didn't want to take that from him, be like, hey, lay off of this or that. And so
right,
you know, he kind of shrugged off like
longer than anybody.
Yeah. So anyway, so the Skrulls recognize the Silver Surfer and that he's an immediate threat, and they're like, let's get out, let's observe and stay out of the way.
Yeah, please.
And the FF return home, and there is some good dialogue here with Ben, like noticing the flames in the sky, and Reed's kind of blowing him off at first. Like, stop being ridiculous, Ben.
I also like, I don't know, is Reed just blind? They're 2 feet, they're 9 inches away from each other. One of them sees the flames and the other one doesn't.
Well, they're making it out like Reed's so concentrated on flying the plane, but don't you look out the window to fly? You know?
I do like the effect. I really like the description of the flames in the sky. It's kind of hard to draw that and have it be believable. But the dialogue does a good job about how like people are starting to go crazy seeing a sky full of flames. And Johnny thinks that he can help people.
Yeah. Let's send the flaming guy down to calm the people down from the sky being on fire, which of course leads to this mass hysteria, and they think it's Johnny's fault.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of laughing at this scene too because of how easily just these people on the street take Johnny out.
Yeah,
they're just like, get the fire hose and he's done. He's taking on Dr. Doom and the Frightful Four, and like so many other villains at this point, but here's just some schmucks on the street with a fire hose. They're like, douse him and jump him.
This made me laugh so hard, and I wonder how like Stan was like, you know, if Stan wrote that plot point or Kirby said, let me draw that, and they're just laughing like, yeah, that's a great way to show how powerful that Human Torch is. By dousing him with water, and he just falls from the sky.
Yeah. And he's like hanging on to the light post. I love this shot of the crowd though. I mean,
that shot's fantastic. I mean, that's Kirby doing his faces, many faces of Jack Kirby. Yeah. And I do love the cop too. You can't see his eyes. It's just like the hat's over him causing the shadows, and he's just like pointing in the direction of, it's very interesting. Like when you look at this, like as a cinematic thing, you know, if you were framing this like as a scene, these people are in the foreground pointing away from where the stuff is going, or are they showing the foreground as it's like laid on top, like almost like a double shot, you know?
Well, it's like it's happening all around them because really, if you look at the crowd, there's people running in both directions.
Yeah, that's true. That is
So
true.
it's like there's nowhere really to go. So
It's
yeah, it just shows more
great
chaos.
shot.
And then over here we get the air cycle. I always love seeing the air cycles. It looks so like it could actually work almost.
Yeah.
Like if it was a drone today, these would be the propeller things.
Or if the Wright brothers had more technology when they invented the plane.
Yeah.
It would, that's why I was really taken aback by their 747 Fantastic Four jet, because usually their vehicles look more like this.
Right, more like futuristic or mid-century modern futuristic.
Yeah.
But and then Ben like falling off, like just goes like it's like he just like let go.
Yeah, free falling.
It's where even Reed's like, "What happened, Ben? Why did you fall?" He's like, "Just shut up."
It's the dialogue between the two of them. I mean, Ben Grimm, the Thing, has the best dialogue, by far. But like him versus anybody else, dialogue wise, is hilarious.
Yeah. So Ben falls down into the crowd.
I love both the shot of him falling at a weird angle and then the clobbering time landing is awesome.
Yeah, that clobbering time. I almost snapped a picture of that today to post in my stories. And then this is one of my favorite parts right here too, of him just blink, knocking the guy out with his middle finger.
Yeah.
And even the lettering, blink.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I do think it's kind of weird that the guy punched him, said something, and then realized his knuckles hurt.
Yeah. And that always the way it goes. Like, I'm going to punch Superman in the gut. And then, like, nothing happens. And then Ben's like, here, we'll just put him over here. He'll wake up in a little bit, puts his hat in his belly.
It's kind of like, when you think about it, like there is a lot of empathy and like emotion put into this storytelling by both of them. And then there's just scenes like that. Like, yeah, I'll just leave him over here. He doesn't need medical help.
He's a big guy just because he got knocked out.
It almost looks like Flint Marko if he had stripes on his shirt.
Oh, yeah, he's wearing the same colored shirt and pants, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So here's where I was talking about where they mention just the detail of the Silver Surfer actually surfing through the waves of space.
Yeah, it's a brilliant way to describe it. And, I feel like that poetry kind of thing, I mean, I don't know if Stan wrote it and then Kirby maybe touched it up on vocabulary, or if Kirby wrote it and then Stan, I don't know. Like, it feels like sometimes when you read some of this Fantastic Four stuff, you can see the Stan dialogue and you can see what's not Stan's dialogue.
I think a lot of the humor, anytime there's alliteration in it, that's going to be Stan. I think.
Yeah.
I do think Stan was a better scripter, because even when you read stuff like the New Gods or the Eternals or anything that Jack fully wrote, there's a stiffness in the dialogue that makes you realize like what Stan was contributing to it. And
they were such a great team. Like, I'll never pick a side because they both did different things, but they were a great team.
Yeah, I agree. They were Lennon and McCartney. It's like they both did such great things together, and separate they did, okay things. Like, but usually I tend to kind of lean towards the Kirby camp for like a lot of like character creation stuff, but I lean towards Stan actually adding the characterization and the things that like really like enamor you about the character beyond just the visual to Stan. And somewhere in the middle is the truth there, I guess.
Yes, and I will once again, I always say this and this, but the progressiveness of the two of them together was just unmatched. Like, they were writing, I mean, this is a very environmental story behind it. Like, this is talking about stuff that we're dealing with now, 60 years later. So either way, it's just fantastic storytelling.
Which there's a great, now that you mentioned that, when we get towards the end, I'll try to remember to point out something that is very relatable to today. So great close-up shot of the surfer. That's the closest we get to his face so far, and that stoic look, and they're like hollow eyes, but they're not like just like Batman, like white eyes. There's like depth going into them.
Yeah, there's some shine to what's going on in the darkness of the eyes.
Mm-hmm. And then this scene with Sue,
So
it's
weird.
one of those where you're like, okay, Stan, you really didn't understand women at all, did you?
No, I mean it's part of the times, like the way that women were treated, even in the '60s. It's not like things have gotten terribly too much better, but I just noticed something. The thing smoking a cigarette.
He is smoking it there. When I was reading it in the fireside today, I don't think I saw that. I wonder if they edited it out later.
It might have, because I'm not a fantastic
No,
porn expert.
It is there.
Yeah, I just don't remember ever seeing him smoking a cigarette.
No, you'd see him smoking cigars, but a cigarette is kind of unusual.
Yeah,
for him to have there.
But yeah, the treatment of Sue right here is kind of wild. I mean, but they also bring attention. Like, it's not like he says that and then she's like, "Oh, that's just Reed." Like, she's like, "Yeah, that ain't right."
Yeah, and she goes marching in. One thing too that I was really taking notice of rereading it is this is something that Kirby excels at, is making these like what would be mundane scenes and still adding like a dynamic composition to them. Like this first one with the thing on the phone and Sue kind of looking away, the look on her face as the angle changes. And then even as we get all the way over here to Johnny leaning out the window and it goes with that Dutch angle and the thing's just in the back sipping a cup of coffee, but it's like that should be such a boring thing. Like one guy's looking out the window, another guy's drinking coffee behind him, but Kirby keeps the visual interesting.
Yes. And once again, the dialogue is pretty interesting here. The thing, "Oh, you're making a mountain a molehill," like trying to defend, and she's not having any of it because she's Sue Storm. She doesn't need to have any of it.
She certainly doesn't.
If Reed pisses her off so much, just turn invisible. He'll never see her again.
Yeah. So then the Johnny looks outside and there's boulders. The fire went away and now there's the boulders in the sky.
I mean, they're really putting the humans of New York to the test mentally. I mean, we can't fathom. That's like some Lovecraftian thing. You couldn't fathom if the sky turned into floating rocks. Like your mind would instantly go insane.
Wouldn't it be the entire world? It's not like we know we're going to spoiler alert. The Watcher's doing this, but the Watcher's doing it, and you'd think he's not just trying to hide New York. He's trying to hide the whole planet. So the whole planet would be seeing this, really.
Listen, I don't know about you, but as a New Yorker, New York is the world.
Fair enough. So Sue barges in, and that's where we get the revelation that it's the Watcher doing it. And he's got some like crazy gizmo machine here. And he was like, "Oh, sorry about the flames. I knew that. I saw that was frightening people. So I decided to put rocks up there instead."
I know. I read that and I'm like, oh man, you really aren't. You, for somebody named the Watcher, you really don't perceive things that well. I will say two things is it's been a couple hours and Reed has almost a full beard, but the thing that always fascinated me about the Watcher, especially in just these 3 issues, I mean, I don't know if Kirby really could ever settle on a design for him, because like you look at him here and he is a big giant baby, but then the cover of 48, he's more muscular and has more definition.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what your favorite version of the Watcher is. Is it this like lineman thick arm, or is it the like giant head with a kind of skinny body, or is it the like the more like athletic look of 48?
I like the athletic. I like what he looks like down on this bottom left panel. But I mean, I grew up like you. We grew up with the giant head Watcher, and to me, that's more alien. And I think it's a better design.
Yeah, I mean, my definitive like picture of the Watcher in my head is definitely like that. The way John Byrne draws him, like in the Phoenix Saga. I feel like that's kind of where the Watcher really took like a definitive look that stuck.
Yeah.
And has kind of been the look ever since. Before it definitely fluctuated though between this kind of look and just varying like inconsistencies in his like size, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So he explains the Watcher explains who the Surfer is, what the Surfer is coming for, and at that moment, the Surfer arrives. He navigates the asteroids with ease, and Johnny goes to stop him, and the Surfer just dodges him like no problem, right? And he lands on the Baxter building, and I love the shot of like the
Great
energy, like going like in or coming out of the Surfer right there. I mean, that's just. I don't think that's been replicated since.
No, it'd be really hard to. It's great panel. I mean, the 4 panels above it are perfect telling, very little to read, and what you're reading is exactly what you need. The perspective of that bottom panel, though, makes no sense, but I'm okay with it.
I like the Watcher popping.
The Watcher at that point, now the Watcher's 22 feet tall.
Yeah, he's popping up out of there like staircase. It's not really a staircase though, because Reed is like climbing out.
Yeah, Reed's climbing.
Looks like she's standing on a platform.
Once again, it's a charm of this and the story, and a charm of this era of books to see these inconsistencies, and it doesn't do anything to the story to hamper it.
Oh, not at all. And even the Watcher, his like collar here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look at it. See how it's like kind of like a standard like collar.
Yeah.
On the page. Wait until we get to the next issue. It completely changes. So the Surfer calls Galactus. I like this too, that like Ben knocks him off the roof, and the Watcher's basically like, the fall isn't gonna hurt him. He wasn't even really trying to guard himself. Like that was just a way for him to exit.
Except they're completely wrong about that.
Yeah,
he does knock him out. I will say though, also the great thing about that hit is that Ben has been progressively getting angrier and angrier, and that like he wanted to hit something. He really did, and it was a good way to kind of bring that to a little bit of a crescendo, even though he goes back to being angry very soon.
Well, even like the dialogue is like, "You do the preparing, pal. I'm more the clobbering type."
Yeah, I just want to hit something.
Yeah. So then we get a Kirby collage. This doesn't look great on the newsprint. Not one of my favorite Kirby collages.
I mean, I love the way it looks. There's certain ones. I want to see how it looks in this Japanese edition. It's pretty interesting how it looks in the Japanese edition in blue. It's got more definition to it versus what you showed, and then the Treasury.
Yeah, the Treasury is a little closer to what's on down here.
Yeah, but still pretty cool. I like his collages. Nobody was doing anything like that in comics in Marvel.
Oh, I love his collages. This one isn't one of my favorite ones.
Sure, it's a little confusing.
So here it is in one of the more modern reprints on the like glossy paper.
Yeah, it's definitely touched up. I mean, it's more clear of what's going on.
Yeah, this looks like a air conditioning unit to me. And it's like
the body looks like a station wagon.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think that's a car, like a station wagon. And then what did he put? Like the spoiler is something.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's one of the fun things I do like about these Kirby collages is trying to figure out what little magazine clippings did he use to make these,
right?
And combine them together. And like on this version, I cannot even tell that this is like a city down here.
Yeah, it's really tough to tell even on the Treasury that it's a city, but you can see it in that recolored, touched up version.
Yeah. So one of the few times I will say, go for the recolored version.
Yeah.
And then we get our first shot of the coming of Galactus.
There he is. I mean, such a menacing figure. And just, I like it when they make him as tall as they possibly can, because it works so much better. I mean, it brings to mind, and I'm sure, I wouldn't be surprised if Kirby was thinking about stuff like King Kong and Godzilla when he created Galactus.
Oh yeah, giants in general. I like that he's not celestial size though.
Right.
But as time goes on, and they kind of say it here, even when the ship is landing, I think the Watcher says something like, "He is what he wishes to be. He
Yes.
is Galactus."
And that
So if he
setting that
wants to be as
standard
big
is
as a
amazing.
planet,
I said setting that standard is actually amazing. It means you can play around with the size.
yeah, having be like as tall as the Empire State Building, or have him just be like, 40 feet tall or whatever, and be able to stand on the top of the Baxter Building.
Yes.
And that's how this issue ends. Like, you're a young reader, and it's like, here you go, like this god creature has come to destroy the Earth.
Two things about that figure, though. First off, that's, I think, the only time where Galactus has a G on his chest. I think they did away with that pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, we'll have to look in these next issues. He may have it through this storyline, but I think, it's like after that, I don't think he has it. If you look in your big book that has the 70 issues, if you want to look real quick, you can see.
This thing's so big, Daryl. It's gone. And the other thing is your coloring is interesting because they put green and like a light violet, and then on the Treasury it's like an olive and a dark purple.
Yeah, and then this one is more of the green,
and
red too.
But it would eventually settle into the colors that we know of, that blue and purple.
Let's just pull the Fireside out and see what it is.
How many Galactuses?
Yeah, this one's more like blue and purple.
Yeah, and they would even change it after that because his headpiece goes purple.
Totally purple.
Yeah, and then the rest of that undersuit is blue.
It's totally purple even in the Fireside in the next issue.
They don't know what they're doing sometimes.
I think the color was like the last thing they did, and they're just like, just get it out. It's gotta be on the shelf. All right, let's jump into issue 49, which has the best cover.
And such a great opening 3/4 splash.
Yeah, again, kind of like the mundane. It's not major action happening, but Kirby finds a way to keep it interesting. Now, I was looking at this and thinking, I don't think Kirby really laid out his work quickly. Like he would just start drawing. Is my understanding. And I feel like he started over here with Reed and Sue, and then was like, I need to get the thing in, and just kind of has him like leaning in, and then I was like, oh, I better put Johnny back there.
Yeah, but he was always, I mean, I guess his pencils, but he would also, Sinnott and any of his longtime inkers would know where to put the shadows. Like, shadows on the Kirby faces are actually some of the most important features of a Kirby character.
I mean, I'd say it like makes everything, more defined and pop.
Yeah.
Right? And, thankfully it wasn't Coletta just erasing out all these buildings in the background. And then the title of this one, If This Be Doomsday. So,
well, we're headed that way.
They reused this title too.
Oh, of course they did. First off, if you go through like the first 15 years of the Marvel superhero stuff, If This Be is in 1 out of every 3 titles.
So, and I like the ribbon style on it too for the inside title and stuff. Another splash page, rare to go back-to-back splash pages, but this one, it needed it, right?
Yeah, and this is where you try to figure out, well, okay, how tall are these guys?
Yeah.
The Watcher is 22 feet, and then Galactus is 30 feet tall. It's very confusing.
This composition always kind of cracks me up too in their positions. It's like the Watcher's like scratching his head.
Yeah.
And Galactus has this, this arm like kind of moving like he's buckling his belt or something.
Or he's about to like backhand smack the Watcher.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like, well, we got the big image of him on the last one, but this is like kind of another look, this, and it adds more of the like grandeur to the size. Really.
Oh yeah.
And the coloring of like, it's already changed. Here he is already totally purple, the purple and blue on the outfit. He's not wearing pants. He's got like just the tunic on. Mm-hmm. And this is where I was saying he looks more like Roman armor.
Yeah.
Here with the robes. And here's where the collar completely changed on the Watcher. Now it's like this kind of sci-fi, kind of just like a bit back, like loop almost going back over his head.
I really enjoy what they do with a lot of the storytelling here and the dialogue of how, like, the Fantastic Four, and I think maybe it's all of them kind of talk about how it's like Galactus is ignoring us, like we're not anything here. And like, it's true. Like, what would a giant have to do with the little tiny humans on the planet that he's trying to devour?
I mean, yeah, they keep referring to it as ants, and it is. It's
Yeah.
like when you go for like a walk in the park, like you're not worried when you're going for a hike that you're like stomping on an anthill or something. Like you're just
Exactly.
marching through the woods,
I always enjoyed that kind of storytelling because, like, if in perspective, you're like, yeah, I guess, like, we are just nothing to something that's 4 times or 10 times the size of us that eats us literally for energy. So what I'm saying is, if this happens, we kind of deserve it.
Yeah. Which Galactus actually even kind of says that later on.
Yeah.
So, and then I like all of this like layout from Galactus is just going to walk to the side and like look out. It is funny that he lands on the Baxter building though. It's like the one group that could probably put up any kind of resistance to him, and he's going to land right on their building.
I mean, it's something about like, maybe it's something rooted in like Roman or Greek tragedy, where like the thing that defeats you is the thing that you approach the in the first place. Like,
yeah,
you're attracted to the thing that's going to take you out.
It seems like that happened to the Fantastic Four a lot, though. It's like Doctor Doom comes to them, the Inhumans kind of came to them, the Frightful Four comes to them. It's like rarely does the FF have to react and like go out to something. It's like everything comes to them.
Maybe it's because the two guys who created it to be the center of the Marvel universe.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben decides he's gonna clobber and time him again and punches him in the foot. Doesn't do anything, and Galactus drops this little grenade that looks like a. I mean, it looks like a marijuana bud, if you ask me. But
fair enough. I mean, I'd let him drop that on me.
But it lets off this gas, like tear gas or something, and they're like, "We're like insects, dude. This is like a bug repellent."
Yeah. That's what Reed says.
And we get some like quick little action with Reed here, rolling him up to get him away. Ben's in like a fetal position.
And here goes Johnny again, thinking that he can solve things with more fire. Didn't we learn anything from literally like 5 hours ago in this timeline?
But I love the shadow on Galactus on that one, where he's like looking out over the city. And at this point, Kirby has learned that this is the best way to do fire, because even like, the Human Torch started out looking more flamey, and before Kirby came up with these like little patch lines, and he just does the same thing on Galactus there.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And then kind of what he does with the Silver Surfer in that one panel you pointed out, you get more of that right here.
Yep, right there. And then we see Galactus, he could shoot some eye beams, and at first I was like, did he teleport Johnny somewhere? But that panel was kind of unclear to me. I guess that's like smoke coming up behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it seems like. And then, yeah, he's just, I don't know, he's got some cosmic stuff going on.
Yeah. Great panel there, though, too. And then it just puts out his flame.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The easiest guy to defeat in the Marvel Universe, Human Torch.
What Galactus didn't realize is he didn't need to waste that energy. He could have just sprayed him with a water hose.
Yeah. He could have spit on him. Could have spit on him.
So then they all just like go regroup back inside. They're like, okay, there's nothing we could do right now. Let's go back inside and clean up. Ben and Reed share in a bathroom, like it's the men's locker room or something.
It's so good because like you said, it's like this is mundane, but yet the dialogue kind of keeps it from being mundane because they're yelling at each other.
With Ben, like, settle down, because Johnny's like, what are you guys doing? You're just coming in here having a bath. And he's like, settle down. We need to clean up a little bit. Reed's shaving off his 5 o'clock shadow. So there's just some like interesting continuity, though. Like they had him grow a little bit of a beard, and like, we want him to clean up. So go shave that off.
Let's take a break. And then you got the surfer who's our next panel. We see him on top of a window, and that's why I'm like, yeah, he did get knocked out. Also, does Alicia live that close to the Baxter building that Ben punches him off and he lands right on Alicia Masters' roof?
Because it did look like he just fell straight down. He didn't like go flying like across the city or something.
Yeah.
So it is interesting too. Just like Galactus lands on the Baxter building, the Surfer lands on the skylight to the blind girl that happens to be dating the Things.
I had forgotten that she's blind, and then like I remember reading this and being reminded of that, and then once again it happened yesterday. I was like, oh, I forgot she's blind, and then why is she touching his face like that? Like, do you normally take in a giant silver alien and then just start touching its face?
Do they mention that she's blind in it? Again,
She says it. Yeah, she says it in a couple of more panels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is kind of funny. It's like, and he doesn't know that about her. You know, like he's just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I do like. You know, it's interesting. The design of the Silver Surfer, and I'm going to. There's probably one incel that I'll piss off by saying this, but the design of the Silver Surfer, like, he's androgynous. This is an androgynous character. You only know that he's a male, you know, when we find out he's Norrin Rad. But even the definitions on his face, like he is an alien that is kind of definitionless.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And Kirby definitely draws him with fewer features, I guess you'd say, than like, you know, Buscema definitely adds more masculinity into his body type.
Yeah.
Than what Kirby does, because I do think Kirby just kind of pictured him as like made whole cloth from Galactus, not with like a human background.
No, I don't think that they clearly to make him a human background, right?
So, and Alicia's a funny character in this era because initially I think they kind of wanted her to have some kind of like sixth sense power, but they never like went all in on it. It's like, you know, she could sense nobility, and there were times she kind of like sensed other things, but it was never like fully explained. Like, yeah, Alicia has like a power of some sort, or she was just very like aware of things. Like,
yeah, because I don't know. You know, you can maybe technically sense nobility in a voice, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, he asks, you do not see, and then she says, why no, of course not. You know, so saying that like he's like, are all humans blind?
Yeah.
Metaphorically, Americans maybe, but
it's a great character moment for both in this scene. And that's where I wonder, like, if after that first issue, if Stan was like, look, we need more of that Silver Surfer character, it's like, who came up with this part? You know, like have him like fall to Alicia, and we'll have him turn on the Galactus. It's almost like Stan saw immediately, like, this is a viable character to do more with. We need him to stick around. Let's have him turn on Galactus to like use more in the future
and to run with that nobility characteristic.
Yeah. This panel with Galactus building up on top of the Baxter building, it makes me wonder, like, what was going through Jack's mind on like what should be a splash page and what doesn't necessitate being a splash.
Right.
To me, this is a splash page.
Yeah, I think it's almost like all four of these were going to be splash pages, and they decided to just be 4 quarters. Because I would put that Watcher as a splash page too.
Yeah, but definitely that constructing the building. I mean. But I was just kind of surprised that wasn't like a splash.
Yeah.
Then the Watcher shows up and he explains what Galactus is going to do. His machine that he's building here, I don't know if it's like sucking up energy or what.
I mean, he says that it's going to take the oceans and turn it into pure energy. So that's what I'm imagining, that it's beaming. I don't know. I mean, it's going both ways.
Yeah.
You know, I do love that little panel of the ocean looking sucked dry with an eel, an octopus, a whale, and also looking extremely prehistoric too.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that's what the ocean would look like if you really drained it. What else you would find down there at the bottom?
Probably be full of oil drills and plastic.
Yeah. So then he's basically just describing how the Earth is going to die from all this, and they're kind of like, well, how do you defeat this? Like, how are you going to get out of this, right?
Well, it's interesting because like this is also it just feels like a foretelling. Like it feels like Kirby and Lee were constructing something, from a perspective of like, yeah, this is what the Earth is headed for, and we're going to show you. Like I feel like
Mhm.
it's too on the nose for this to be just happenstance that they created the story about this being that's going to destroy the planet. Where it's
It's
like these guys were really progressive, and I feel like they were constructing like, look at what the corporations, look at what we're going to do to this planet if we don't
yeah.
stop.
It's this is we're sucking our resources dry.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're on that path now. This is what's going to happen in the long run.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the 60s, they probably had more optimistic hope that we would figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
and, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
We figured out how to drain the resources faster.
Yeah.
More great, like shocked looks,
Love that
expressions.
panel.
And then we get back to the surfer and Alicia. The surfer in this, his ability to do things, and even like in his next few appearances,
Mm-hmm.
he's a little overpowered.
Oh,
when
extremely.
you can just like turn whatever into pure energy, and like
He could do what Galactus is doing on, like, if he was a bad guy, he'd just be on the streets turning people into pure energy.
yeah, I mean, he's just like, I have no need to eat. Bzz, this is
Yeah.
poop. Why do you have these decorations around? I will just turn those to energy too. Bzz.
It's kind of silly in a way, but it's still, I do love the all of the what Kirby was doing with the poses here, and like the face of Surfer being very non-emotional.
Mhm.
And then that last page, there's the emotion. That last panel, there's the emotion.
Yeah, where he like kind of bends his head down a little bit.
Yeah, like
Like-
his. It's just the way that his head is cocked.
Yeah. And there's the thinking like, I serve Galactus, like,
Yeah.
no
like-
matter, great emotion on Alicia's face there too. Though.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people have problems with the way he drew women, but I think he draws emotional women just as good as men, if not better.
People have a problem with it because he doesn't draw them all like super sexy.
Yeah,
Like we expect, they're not all Psylocks and Mary Jane.
Unless you're Jim Lee, or Todd. Well, Todd couldn't draw hair, but Jim Lee could draw a sexy woman, and that's all he drew.
Yeah, and then like even he didn't have them all in like poses where you can see their butt and their boobs at the same time. It's like he didn't do that kind of stuff, like
no. Roz would have probably beat the crap out of him.
Probably so. He did get a little bit more risque with Big Barda later on, but then we get into some like truly classic panels of Galactus like putting the machine together, like the final plug-in, but of course it doesn't work. But whenever I see this, I think of the Alex Ross recreating this with the energy floating between this and stuff.
Also proving what you said before about Surfer, that panel up there, he says, human, what can that word mean to me? And it's like, yeah, he's not human. He is no longer, whatever is in him is not human.
Right.
So when people want to complain about, oh, well, this isn't the Silver Surfer, this isn't the Silver Surfer, Jack Kirby's the only one that can tell you what's the Silver Surfer and what's not the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, he's the one that brought it into Stan. I do want to point out too at the beginning, I forgot to mention it, when the Watcher is saying something to him about like killing planets, and he says all the other worlds were dead and this one has life, but of course we know that's not true because later on in the Galactus mythos, it's very much like survivors of planets that Galactus has devoured.
Yep. And people don't like him because he's destroyed their species.
And so the Surfer would have encountered those planets, which, of course, again, in later stories, we see the Surfer visit planets where they're like, oh, this is the one that destroyed planet Zerbag or whatever,
Oh, I really enjoy this top panel with the thing taking the antenna or whatever, the piece of the ship, and Galactus is like, no. It's like, I can build another one in minutes. He's like, yeah, if you panic like that and you say that, you're not actually telling the truth.
And he could, though, but like, I love that the thing, he tears it off and rams him with it, and then you have Mr. Fantastic turning into a cannonball to like finish knocking him off.
Also, Ben Grimm uses the phrase crumb bum, which is one of the greatest things of all time. And I just love that it's there. And I'll go with that's a Stan Lee-ism.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, what the thing says, is usually the humor is Stan Lee-isms. This panel of Galactus where he's like falling down on the city but stops himself.
Yeah.
So that Kirby puts energy around him to demonstrate that, and to reference Alex Ross again in Marvels when he recreates it, he does not put the energy around him, and it's like this weirdest looking panel of this realistic city looking below, and Galactus in this pose looking like very lit realistically.
I don't
like, is he touching the
panel.
ground or not?
I'll have to look at that because I don't remember that panel.
Yeah, it's in Marvel's whatever number the Galactus story was in. But yeah, there's like it's like a splash page of that. And I like this pointing up.
Yep. And then we get the ladies and gentlemen, it is not Frank Castle, but we get the Punisher.
The first appearance of the Punisher. Here it is.
Yeah, yeah. So mega key book here, Fantastic 449.
I like this Punisher.
Yeah, he doesn't talk. He just slaps.
Yeah. That, over and over and over again. But we'll get to that in a second, because first we have to have the Watcher send Johnny out into space. Some awesome stuff going on here. Just this panel being turned into like energy to be transported across time and space, going through this like loops of death that if he touches it, he'll just cease to exist.
The celestial barriers known as the unlife.
Yeah. That sounds like a Kirbyism.
It's like hokey in a different way.
Yeah. And then he gets to, I guess this is Galactus's home.
Yeah.
Not his main ship, but his home, and it's like a Mobius strip.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. I will say that whole portion of the story is like, I understand, but it also makes no sense. It's like you're going through space and time back here, and you're not in your body, but you are in your body. I was like, you know what, you guys, I'll just agree, this is okay. This
is the MacGuffin. I mean, it has to be, because they have to come up with some way to beat it. I mean, also the Watcher is like, I can't interfere. I'm just going to give you all the resources needed for you to do the thing that I can't do myself.
Listen, I'm going to go over there and I'm just going to say a bunch of stuff. If you listen to me and do what I say, something might happen and you might be able to defeat Galactus, but I'm not telling you directly this is what you should do.
But I've also got this machine you might need. So if you do listen to me, come over here in this area. You don't have to, but I've got this machine and I'll zap you with it and it'll do what you need it to do.
And we get back to the Punisher.
Back to the Punisher. And he punishes. He punishes Reed. He punishes Ben over and over. I just love this panel here.
Yeah, that's the highlight of the fight. And then what happens right after it with the whirly twirly, it's Tasmanian devil looking type stuff.
I like when Kirby would have Mr. Fantastic getting like kind of hit so hard that he loses control of his plasticity.
Yeah, and he's like kind of taffy all over the place.
And Sue probably could have done more with her power if they'd known how to like really use it at this point. But all she could really do is like come up with a force field.
Maybe she was also just kind of pissed because they treated her like dirt for the last two issues.
Maybe next time I'll throw some like invisible force knives at it or something.
Yeah.
So I like this too, that like they're behind the force field and Galactus is like, okay, they've had enough. They learned their lesson.
Well, it's interesting because he kind of says like, I have no beef with you people. I have no emotion. Like, I'm not angry or mad at you. I just am. And it kind of plays into that. Like, he's not trying to kill them specifically. They're all going to die. But he's
He
not
could if
trying
he
to have the
wanted to.
Punisher kill them.
Right. He just wants him out of his way to finish his machine and turn it on.
Yeah. Yeah, he's also extremely cocky. Extremely.
So as we wrap up the issue, Alicia has reached the good of the Silver Surfer, and he has decided he's going to have to betray his master. And the Watcher is like, an unknown wild card is being thrown into the fray.
With the greatest closing panel of a comic book possibly ever.
Did that one make the many faces?
I don't think it did. But there's always volume 3.
I like this shot of the Surfer too. That profile.
It's very, I mean, it mimics, well, if you can, the back of my treasury, it mimics that too.
I think one thing I love about the Kirby Surfer too is he's not a polished surfer like Silver. He's like, kind of like a matte. And I like that better. He doesn't reflect everything around him, but Kirby, his squiggles and stuff give enough like light reflection off of him and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that's how that one ends. Not as big of a cliffhanger as the first one with the arrival of Galactus, but I think the twist of the Surfer saying that he is now going to turn on his master is still enough of a cliffhanger to keep you coming back, right?
Yeah, and it becomes a very Surfer heavy story, hence the name of the startling saga of the Silver Surfer.
Yep. And that's where I wonder, it's like, did Stan be like, we've got to bring this character back? And then at that point, it's like, well, yeah, if we're going to have him turn on it, let's have our grand finale be with the Surfer. Interesting issue, though, with the Surfer being on the cover. Really only about half the issue is the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So we call this the Galactus Trilogy, but really it's only about 2 issues worth when you take out the front end of 48 and the back end of this one. You're really getting about 2 issues.
But it gives I think that's actually great, though, that it expands into the 3 issues, because they were probably saying, like, look, the story's not small enough for 2 issues. We've got to extend it, and let's give it room. And I think, there's nothing left out of this story. So that's what it feels like, a complete story.
Without being drug on for like 15 issues.
Exactly.
So another great opening shot. This is the first one with I guess the opening shot of the Inhumans was action, but a lot more action in this opening shot than the previous issue.
Mm-hmm. And we get a full splash page, 5 characters on it, lots of cool machinery, cool angles, and Galactus and the Surfer.
I like underneath the credits, the peerless pageantry at the peak of proud perfection.
Oh, Stan.
He hit that alliteration hard.
Yeah.
And so the Surfer's going to come, and I mean, just awesome panel after awesome panel here. I love this one. Yeah, the Kirby crackle with Galactus getting enveloped in it. The whatever you call this surrounding energy coming in. He forms him in a cocoon. This cocoon almost looks like it has a face to it to me.
A little bit, yeah.
And then Ben even reaching out to touch it, and it I guess it's hot.
Right? It's hot, but he can still, he's rock.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's what is Reed says something about the heat, I think. He says, I tried to warn you, Ben. Did you think something which wasn't charged with a repellent force could hold Galactus? I was like, why does Reed know so much? I mean, I guess he's the smartest man on the face of the planet.
Yeah, it's just intuitive to him, I guess.
Yeah.
And of course, Galactus, he's not going to stand for it. He's going to break out.
Yeah, he's Galactus. I mean, he's going to eat your planet. I think he can break out of a little cocoon.
And this is, all we can really say is just, this is the climax, it's the action. Yeah. It's the third act of the movie. Every panel is just something dynamic happening. I like Galactus with his arms crossed right here as the Surfer tries to do it again, I guess. And then I love this shot of Galactus with his fingers blasting out too.
Great perspective on that.
Yeah, I think that's another one.
You can do it on your own You can do it on your own too.
Yeah. I think that's another one Alex Ross recreated in Marvels. And this close up, here's a face for you down here in the bottom.
Yeah, that close
up
up of the Watcher's brow, eyes, and nose with the top of his mouth. It looks awesome. I mean, this is a book that you could take out every single word in here and it still would read perfectly.
Oh, yeah. We get back to Johnny, and Johnny, it wraps up Johnny's little adventure, though, pretty quick. And he shows back up, and he's just mind blown, like literally mind blown.
Yeah.
From the adventure he got sent on. And I thought that was a pretty interesting take on the whole thing of him not just coming back like, here you go, I found this thing. It's just like he can't even wrap his head around all the things he saw.
It's once again, it kind of follows in the tropes of the Lovecraftian storytelling. Like he's so affected mentally. I mean, he hasn't gone crazy, but he isn't immediately right back on it. He's
right.
And that triple panel of him, like kind of coming back too. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. It's like there's a little bit of the flame and the Kirby energy mixed in together.
And once again, we see this last shot with the surfer in the background and kind of the Watcher off to the side. No, he's only about 18 feet.
The ever-changing size, yes.
Yeah.
So here's where, like, Reed sees this thing that Johnny has, and it's hard to see it. The way they colored it in mine, it's like it's blue with his glove. They didn't color it, so it's hard to see right there.
In the Treasury, it's a little more. You can tell it's metal, but it's still obscured by his hand.
While the surfer's more or less being a distraction to Galactus at this point. But I mean, that's all you can really do is just hope to keep distracting him. Look at all these like crystal things forming on the tops of the buildings.
Yeah, as
the
energy's being sucked up, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's something to do with either the battle or it has to do with the fact that he's destroying the planet.
Yeah, either way. And then here's our MacGuffin shows up. Reed has the ultimate nullifier in the hands of a human.
It's so it really is so goofy that like the way you show it to him is by Mr. Fantastic stretching his arm out like 40 feet into the air.
But I love the second panel though, where you do see Mr. Fantastic's like lower, so the perspective of the arm coming up into his face, and Reed, he has no idea, and they refer to it as, you have given a match to a child who lives in a tinderbox.
Tinderbox, yep.
And the Watcher's like, yeah, what of it? And now the Watcher's collar thing has turned into almost like a smock coming over underneath his.
Everything. I mean, everything in this book changes. I wonder if it was Deadline, or I wonder if it was just like, I don't know. I don't know.
And then it changes on the next page again. It turns back to that like high 70s collar almost. So, but otherwise, great panels on here. I love the 4-panel spread that Kirby's, kind of does at this era. His art got bigger. Great shots of Galactus with kind of like perturbed, not really angry, just kind of like
he's annoyed.
Yeah. And he's like, fine, I'll leave. Give me back my little ultimate nullifier toy that to you would be super dangerous. I'm going to blast the Silver Surfer. I love that shot of, he's like standing up, and it's almost like the Dark Side Omega beams, because it's not like he's looking at him and they're coming out. It's like he's still standing straight and the eye beams are going off to the side.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, that's a pretty cold thing that he did. He's like, one more thing. Hold on. Before I get out of here. And he just zaps him in the face. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. And then we he just turns into energy to leave, and that's an awesome panel. Not a full splash page. And I was laughing at the Fantastic Four. They're like, look away, like it's the Ark of the Covenant or something. Like it'll melt your face if you watch him turn into energy.
Get back, all of you. This site was never meant for human eyes. And then Ben, I love Ben's response to that. Can't you ever get struck speechless like the rest of us?
Yeah. It's great.
I love the attitude that Ben Grimm has this entire 3-issue arc.
Yeah. You can't take everything serious. If you do, you'll go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I think he says that as much right here.
Yeah, he does. He says there'll always be some loudmouth like you, and I know. Yeah, can't you take anything seriously? And then he says, "Yeah, if you do, you'll blow a gasket." Which is, it. I mean, in a low key way, they're addressing a lot of interesting themes, even if it's just very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
They address a lot of different things in these issues that I feel like comic books wouldn't do for another 30, 40 years. The bottom 2 panels.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So then the Silver Surfer like creeps up on him, like peeks over his shoulder, like, "Hey,
it's so creepy." and Ben being Ben, and this being written by 2 guys that are actually kind of in on the joke. It's like, what's the matter with you? Don't you know better to go sneaking up behind a guy?
And the Silver Surfer's trying to be nice. It's like, "Hey, I'm trying to dislike you."
Yeah. What is really troubling you, my friend? And it's like, 2 quote unquote alpha dogs, going head to head and like trying to be friends with each other, and neither one really can handle the other.
And then Alicia shows up, and this is really going to set up the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
This whole interaction right here, the classic FF51, this man, this monster.
Yeah,
this is all setting the stage for that to come. Alicia shows up, and she kind of ignores Ben at first to go straight to the Surfer, and Ben's kind of like, well, of course, why wouldn't she go for the shiny silver guy who's like handsome, Why wouldn't she go for that? And he just kind of wanders off as Sue and Reed also leave her up there to take Johnny, to bed, basically, because he's okay. He's just out cold. And then they leave the blind woman up there with the alien on their own. Like, so there you go.
Yeah, what Kirby does in that panel where, it's a face, you're looking straight at Ben Grimm. He uses no shadow and he puts that frown on, and it actually really, really works. Alicia, I get it. She's blind, right? So she's handicapped, but all she has to do is kind of feel around the Silver Surfer to realize that, like, there really isn't much that you're going to get there.
That's true. But she's not really attracted to him in that way. She still loves Ben. She's just like, oh, good. But it is kind of funny. Like, Ben, of course, doesn't ever see it that way. He's always looking for a reason for Alicia to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And it's
he's
like
kind of a sorry sap.
Yeah. And that's definitely what happens here. And she's like, well, come inside. Let's, come inside and meet the rest of the people that you've already met. I want to reintroduce you. You'd think they'd be like, Alicia, how do you know this guy? Like, nobody questions that.
Yeah, nobody questions that. Ben doesn't realize that she's blind and that she walked past him because she's blind.
Yeah.
And yeah, why do you know this being that we just met, 6 hours ago?
Right. And then she's left, and he's like, no, I'm not going to go inside in a confined walls. I should be up in the sky, leaving her to walk down these stairs with no handrail on her own. She's like feeling out into the air.
And that's how Alicia Masters died.
Just tumbled down the steps.
Oh, man.
So the rest of this will kind of breeze through, but there are some interesting things where the people on the street are saying that J. Jonah Jameson is saying it's a publicity stunt, which I thought that was interesting. Very much in line with today and fake news. But the other guys say, like, I've learned to read Jameson's editorials and believe the opposite.
Yeah, J. Jonah's not your Pulitzer Prize winning journalist.
Yeah, he's not Perry White. He's
no, he's Alex Jones.
Yes. So then it sets up this man, this monster with the other guy, the nameless antagonist of the next issue. And then we get into some stuff with Johnny, and there's like the football coach that looks like Vince Lombardi.
Yeah, that's done purposefully.
This part's pretty neat with Reed sitting in the little chair that has like the projector going over his head.
Yeah.
Have you seen that made into like a meme where it's like animated and it's flipping through like different women in the Marvel universe? It's like the Wasp and Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy and stuff. Or like it's like he's like flipping through it, and she's like, "Reed, what on earth?" It's pretty funny. It's out there. You'll probably run across it someday, but just more stuff with like Reed kind of ignoring Sue here, and then he ends up asking for forgiveness. Like, sorry, we've been a little busy with the world on the edge of destruction.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a double-edged sword with stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, he's being a jerk, but also the world's about to end. Like, nobody would be nice to each other if the world was ending.
Yeah, especially if you felt the pressure to solve the problem of the world.
Right. It's right. It's not like, hold me, darling, we're about to die. It's like, no, I'm the only one who can actually figure this out.
Yeah. And then we see Ben being, as like you said, a sad sack walking around. This scene I thought was kind of funny because the girl is drawn like she's startled by the thing, but her dialogue is more like almost just like she's like startled that somebody like came around the corner too quick once she recognizes who he is, and she's not really frightened of him as the thing. She's like, "Oh, you're the thing. I know you are, but I've got somewhere to be. It was nice to meet you."
Yeah, I gotta go.
But he's still like, she was so frightened of me, poor thing. She almost fainted.
Yeah. She's like, I gotta go. But yeah, she is drawn kind of. But she says, and I was terrified, and then she stopped.
Yeah. And then we wrap up with Johnny meeting Wyatt Wingfoot, which does make for interesting stories later on, but we don't need to like waste any time with it. And that's kind of the end of the Galactus trilogy.
Yeah. And there it is. And we close with some Inhuman stuff, and yeah, we're done.
So what are your kind of final thoughts on the story, having reread it again with fresh 2025 eyes?
To me, it still holds as one of the greatest things that Marvel has ever put down. I mean, you can take whatever 60s kind of dialogue or whatever hokiness, but that's just times. I think it's extremely relevant, and it still holds as like one of these great things where you, as you're reading it, you're like, yeah, this, if they ended the world there, it would have been an amazing way to do it. But yeah, it's just drawn beautifully, and it's not boring, and it doesn't really get old, and you can definitely put it into the lens of anything you want to in 2025, where it's, environmentally or capitalistic and stuff like that. But it's just a good old-fashioned greatest, or one of the greatest Marvel stories ever told.
It'll be interesting to see if they do any of those like aspects that you just mentioned in the movie coming out, which by the time this airs, maybe we'll have both seen it by then. So
I mean, I definitely think they're going to try and measure the beats on what happens here. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to go deep into it, or if it's just going to be a means to get the Fantastic Four from out of their universe into the MCU 616.
Yeah, I just like you're mentioning though, like the environmental storyline of it and the human elements. It'll be interesting to see if they play into any of that, with it being so like relevant to today. Marvel has their agenda,
Yeah, well, I think the human element's really going to play into instead of worrying about any of the innocent people with the human element, I think it's all going to focus on the interior of the Fantastic Four, like their human element, which is what they should be doing to build better characters anyway.
Right.
Well,
either way, I'm looking forward to it. Dave, thanks for joining me for a Kirby classic, a standing Kirby classic.
Yeah.
And I'll have you on again, I'm sure, real soon.
Sure. Daryl, thanks for having me. I always a pleasure to really get to dive into a comic book with you.
All right. Until next time.
Read your comics.